Hi everyone! My name is Julia and I'm an educator at the Columbia River Maritime Museum. The Columbia River Bar, where the Columbia River meets with the Pacific Ocean, is considered one of the most dangerous waterways in the world. And since 1800, the Graveyard of the Pacific has claimed over 2,000 ships. Each month leading up to the opening of the museum's Shipwrecks exhibit, the Education Department will feature one famous shipwreck that fell victim to the Graveyard of the Pacific. This month, we're talking about the Glenesslin. The Glenesslin was a three-masted sailing ship built in Liverpool, England by C.E. de Wolfe and Company. Over her almost 30-year career, the Glenesslin had a reputation for speed. She actually set a record for sailing speed in 1900 by making the trip from Portland to Port Elizabeth, South Africa in 74 days, and she still holds this record today. Unfortunately for the Glenesslin, sailing ships started to get outcompeted by steam-powered ships in the early 1900s. A lot of sailing ships were losing their best crew members to steamships. In the fall of 1913, this problem came to a head when the Glenesslin was sailing from Santos, Brazil to Portland in one of the more controversial shipwrecks along the Oregon coast. October 1st, 1913 was a beautiful, calm day in Manzanita on the North Oregon coast. Historians say that visibility was almost perfect and the conditions were ideal for any deep-water ship. Suddenly, and for no apparent reason, the Glenesslin pointed its bow directly into the base of Mount Neocani. Locals in Manzanita thought they were seeing some sort of apparition or hallucination as they watched the ship crash into the rocks near the mountain. A ledge of rock underwater ripped a hole into the bottom plates of the ship, and Captain Owen Williams ordered the crew to throw a line out to the rocks. Every crew member was hauled ashore with a breeches buoy by Manzanita locals. The captain and crew didn't say much as they got off the ship, but it was rumored that Captain Williams and a few of his crew members smelled like alcohol. While photographers captured the Glenesslin in its final moments, people began to wonder how the ship could have crashed into the mountain on such a beautiful day. Locals also wondered why the ship didn't try to crash into the softer beaches near Manzanita or Cannon Beach. Like so many other ships that have crashed along the Oregon coast, the Glenesslin faced a court of inquiry to determine who was responsible for the wreck. The crew members brought a lot of conflicting evidence to the court, including whether or not Captain Williams had been drinking before the ship hit the mountain. Eventually, the captain and his first and second officers were deemed responsible for the shipwreck. The captain had his license suspended for 3 months for negligence, and the second officer's license was suspended for 6 months. A Lloyd's insurance purveyor from Portland came to examine the ship and immediately recommended that it be sold. 2 men from Astoria paid a little over $500 for the wreck in late October, but turned around and sold it to an individual from Nehalem for $100 after realizing how little could be salvaged. A lot of locals at the time, and historians today, theorized that the crash was orchestrated to collect the insurance payment. Because sailing ships were worth so little as steam power became more popular, the de Wolfe Company would have made more from the insurance payout than it would have if it had tried to sell the ship. Some people say the geography of the coast is responsible for what happened. There's a windless pocket near Cape Falcon that would have been almost impossible for the Glenesslin to get out of once it had been stuck. Other people blame the shipwreck on how young the first and second officers were. Because more experienced sailors were being lost to steam-powered ships, both officers were only 22 when the shipwreck occurred. 20 years before, no one would have hired people so young to be the top officers of a ship like the Glenesslin. But because finding people to work on sailing ships was so difficult, that's what they ended up with. Over the years, the Columbia River Maritime Museum has received quite a collection of artifacts from the wreck. Many of these artifacts were acquired by the donor's ancestors, who salvaged them from the wreck at the time and kept them in the family for years before they were donated. That's all from me about the Glenesslin. Thanks for watching!